Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the session on Coopetition for Market Recovery. I hope you've had a chance to see our recorded session that we did with a great group of panelists. I just want to introduce who's with us today. We've got Nichapa, Yoswee, who's Senior Vice President of MICE Thailand Convention Exhibition Bureau, a great visionary and strategic thinker in the MICE industry. We have Leonie Ashford, Business Events Bid Manager for Tourism New Zealand, who's another big global thinker and a great ambassador for her country, New Zealand. And last but certainly not least, a well-known leader of the industry, Jason Ye, CEO of GIS Group, a previous chair of Asia Pacific ICA and the Taiwan Convention Exhibition Association. So welcome, panelists. And my name is Mike Williams from GainingEdge, based in Melbourne. We're not all in lockdown, but haven't seen each other for a very long time. And we're here to talk to you about if you've got any questions you'd like to ask us about the session you may have viewed earlier. Does anybody, before we kick off or do a bit of a recap of the session, does anybody have any immediate questions they'd like to put to this panel? Okay. I'll just give you a quick recap of what we discussed during the recorded session. If you haven't had the opportunity to see the recorded session, please do so. But basically, the topic of discussion was about the concept of coopetition, building competitive alliances to expedite regional market recovery. We're in a situation where we're all in the same boat and learning a lot from the current COVID pandemic, but we're still looking at how to get ourselves out of this situation. We also realise that as a result of COVID, the pandemic, that we are all very interdependent on each other to get it through this crisis. And that brings up the question of what are we doing as a collaborative group, as a collaborative industry to get us out of this situation. So what we discussed during the session was looking closely at the opportunities there may to make the MICE industry more resilient against future crises. And we also looked at the where there was an opportunity if it was too much of a challenge for us to collaborate on a regional level when we all have the same issues, but we were addressing them at a local level rather than a regional level. So the session explored possibilities for regional competitors to work together to achieve market recovery and growth, and what platforms are available to encourage greater collaboration. Some of the discussion points that came out of the session were about the challenge we face to work at a regional level, that there's enough challenges at a city level, at a state level, and a national level to deal with before we start looking at regional cooperation. But then we also talked about what platforms or what opportunities do exist for collaboration at a regional level, and certainly the number one thing that came up in the discussions was that we can collaborate in communicating and talking to our governments to promote and position the MICE sector as an important sector for economic recovery, and we can share information on how we're presenting those business cases, that communication to governments. We also discussed the idea of collaborative research across the region. There's always a need for great research to identify the size and value of our industry to the community and to communicate that to our stakeholders. And Nichapa was talking about during the session about creating events, new events within the region to help the recovery process. In the post-COVID recovery era, there are a number of new industry sectors that are starting to emerge and grow, including healthcare and wellness, technology, green technologies, transport and logistics, online services, safety and hygiene, and other areas of things like social justice. These are all new sectors that are seem to be getting a lot bigger focus these days, and there may be opportunities to do that. Do we have any questions from the audience today? We've got, just looking at the screen now, lots of welcomes. Okay. Nichapa, I was just going to ask you, maybe just to do a bit of a recap, you've got this great concept of what you call the Asia Mice Alliance. Do you want to give us a quick insight into what that's all about?
The Asia, I would call it Asia Convention Alliance. In the first phase, we would like to focus more on creating conventions as the solution to maintain mice ecosystem. And I think the concept is to make sure that the mice ecosystem can be maintained not only within individual country, but we can also create opportunity for domestic conventions to go rotating or with rotation in the interested countries as a partner. For example, if Thailand would work with Taiwan, then Taiwan would probably each would pick their domestic high potential or promising domestic conventions, and then we would export them to organize 1 year in Taiwan and then the next in Thailand, and then the rotation continues. This is not only would be able to maintain the ecosystem, but also to sort of promote the promising domestic conventions to become regional. And of course, if the opportunity arises, hopefully we can push these regional conventions into a global arena. So COVID has basically limited the opportunity for the global rotation. And I think that it is within our power to create one, just not only to maintain, but also to make sure that this can be a good recovery solution to individual countries.
Look, to me, it's a great initiative, and you've had quite a good response to that, Nichapa, as well, haven't you, from different destinations?
Yes, we have been working pretty closely with Seoul, and I think the letter of intent or MOU would probably be able to reach within this year, maybe the Q4 this year. And we have been receiving a good response from Taitra, also from China, and we are working with Japan. Now, Singapore, they said that they have already been in good partnership with some other alliance, and we are now seeking into another opportunity to work with Singapore.
Yeah, great.
So hopefully by the end of this year, we could have a few rotations that are created basically just for Asia.
Yeah, and are you looking at these new sectors that are emerging out of the COVID crisis, the technology sectors, green energy, these types of areas?
We would probably, of course, the well-being stuff is the most promising ones. But convention is mostly on medical, which is, of course, the well-being side of the story already. So on top of that, we would look into technology. We also look into sports because people would see sport as part of well-being enhancement program.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are many areas. We have recreation area, we have technology, we also have smart cities, starting from pure trade into pure recreation.
Yep. Leonie, what's your kind of take on this? Do you see some opportunities here for collaboration on creating new events and developing new events for the region?
Look, I definitely think, in the cities that you've just talked about and in the region that you've talked about, I think that that's a really good opportunity. I am keen on the idea of research and insights that actually help to establish, exactly what you're talking about, and help to establish a way forward for us all as we move forward. Without that solid understanding of the situation, of how our customers, our clients are actually feeling and looking to embrace our business, I think, if we get some really good facts and some insights, then we're in a position to actually go forward. I think the rotation is excellent. I think the focus on sectors on, here in New Zealand, we call them our four capitals, nature, social. I mean, we've all got economy, and, that's perfect. But I think some pretty solid insights that we can come up with, working together to actually help us to really go in the right direction of recovery and growth for the sector.
Great. And Jason, I heard it was good to hear that Taitra has shown some interest in this alliance. That's a good thing for Taiwan. What's your thoughts on that type of collaboration with other destinations?
I think it's always good to collaborate with the other destination to promote the convention business. And I would like to share another brilliant idea.
Is this your brilliant idea?
No, it's not my brilliant idea. It's just someone's brilliant idea. It's called the Hybrid City Alliance. It's another alliance, and initiated by The Hague, the city in Netherlands, and with the Prague and Ottawa and Geneva, and they just launched a white paper on the Hybrid City Alliance. Okay, so let me give you some idea about they call it a hybrid city. It means probably there are more and more convention, the convention, they in the future they want to have their meeting in different city at the same time, at a concurrent time, and or hybrid one, online or offline, and it's kind of hub and spoke, or it's many city at the same time have to host the same events. So they create a kind of alliance to work with the cities who willing to join and who willing to be part of the events. And I think it's quite a brilliant idea. The reason for that is it's good for the marketing for the city, and they can promote the city together as an alliance. And second one, and it probably also cope with the transformation of the convention in the future. And they are much welcome. A lot of cities join in, and I believe their membership is growing recently. Just give you an idea, and I think that one is really good.
Yeah, I think the Seoul Convention Bureau is a member of that alliance. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. They're the only member in Asia.
Yeah.
Yep. I do have a question online from Karen Yu. Would love the speaker's opinion on which regions will likely see cooperation first. Maybe I'll pass that back to Kun Nichapa. You've obviously been dialoguing with different destinations. You probably have a good feel for who's being proactive in trying to look at building bridges and ties with within the region.
I would say so, because they are very active in terms of jump on the idea of working together. Both countries, we already have been working internally on the list of high potential conventions that we think we can rotate among each other. And hopefully the program would start next year.
Yep, great. Any other destinations you think in the region that you think will take off or have started that dialogue?
Of course, Taitra. We are in the process of looking into MOU, but the MOU is pretty, I would say it is very easy to follow, because it's just the role from each partner, from respective partner. And it is almost the same or equal collaboration or efforts that both destinations would have to put into.
Yeah.
So Taitra, China has been voicing very strong last week. So I think we probably would have a few of the conventions, including Hong Kong. Yeah. That's a newcomer.
Yeah. Look, I'll just stop for a sec just to check if there's any further questions. I've only got one sitting here on the Seeker, the chat box, but if there's anybody wants to turn their mics on and ask a question, please do. Okay. There's a couple of other alliances that I've seen emerge during the COVID the COVID period. One of the interesting ones most recently is the Greater Bay Area Alliance, which is Macau, Guangzhou and Hong Kong. And they recently ran their first inaugural Artificial Intelligence Congress as a collective. So I thought that was an interesting initiative along the same lines of what you were talking about, Nichapa. I also saw that the Business Events Council of Australia and also New Zealand have been talking about forming an alliance and to address some of the issues coming out of COVID, and I think that's a positive move because traditionally Australia and New Zealand are seen as fairly competitive, but that dialogue between the two countries on sharing information is another great move forward. And I think that's the only ones I've seen within Asia, but there's been a lot of collaboration in other platforms. There's the AIPC, UFI and ICA that last year put together the Reopening Business Events Good Practice Guidance to help venues set up guidelines for running safe events, and quite a number of destinations have adapted that. And most recently, the Events Industry Council based in Washington, they have put together the Sustainable Event Standards, and that was a contribution from over 100 different industry practitioners across not just the US but around the world to put those standards together. So there is some really good concepts there to do that. Do you have any other thoughts about alliances within Asia Pacific, Leonie? Can you see anything brewing?
No, for us, I guess it's just the very aware of the one that you mentioned between Australia and New Zealand. Highly competitive situation between Australia and New Zealand at times, but we have been working together, and it's that lobbying, it's the government situation. So it's our industry bodies that have been working very closely together to make sure there's an awareness of the value of business events. So that's the one situation I'm aware of.
Yeah, look, the one thing that we discussed in the panel session last time too was this idea of talking to governments about how instead of going to governments and asking them for money and support, go to the governments and present to them the solution for on how the MICE industry can help recovery as a platform for recovery. By running trade shows and conferences, you're opening up the markets again, you're opening up the concept of trade, and MICE definitely provides an excellent platform for that to happen. But we need to work as an industry to get that message across to government. And Jason, would you see an opportunity there?
Yes, of course. I think after the pandemic, openness, is a key word for every destination, for any organization within our industry should embrace, because with the openness we can connect more people or more destination in our in our industry for the recovery, for some lobbying or the government to put more resources in our industry, or to help our client to have the confidence to organize their live event for their marketing or for their management purpose. So I think openness is a thing we need to remember. So
Okay, we've got a couple of questions coming through. I just want to see if we can get a few more questions before we finish the Q&A session. From Dubai, we've seen demand increasing as soon as Phuket announced the opening from the 1st of July, but when are the other cities expected to open? Now, that's a question directed quickly to Nichapa. If you could maybe respond to that quickly, I'll see if I can get a few more of these questions in.
Okay, Phuket would be from 1st of July. There will be a couple more cities in the south, and we call it under the seal routes. 3 more cities will be open in October. The north, 4 cities in the north would start in November.
Okay. There's another question there. What initiatives or measures does the Thai government have when Phuket Sandbox project officially starts after July 1? I guess you've partly answered that with what you're doing with other cities, but anything else you want to add?
I think right now the program is to go ahead for sure. There are 11 airlines that are really have the program or flight details to go directly to Phuket, and the facilities in Phuket would be operated by the operations would be handled by certified operators. Hotels will also be a certified groups of hotels. So we have all the lists for international travelers to choose upon, and we also have a certified set of recreation program. So the program is definitely to go ahead. Everybody is putting. For MICE, we already plan to have a few fam trips to go to Phuket and more.
Great. We've got, we're certainly hotting up here with questions. We've got a question here for Jason from Rachel Lee. Why do you think city alliances are easier to handle than country alliances?
Yeah, I think at the city level, because city is much more easy to make the decision. If we put it in a country level, probably they need to talk, and that kind of talk is going to spend a lot of time among those cities. That's my very simple personal point of view. And also in the city level, because the city, each city they have a different positioning, market positioning in their region or in their country. So it's much easier for the city to look for probably the same size, or like what I mentioned, the hybrid city alliance. It's founded by 4 cities: The Hague, Prague, and Geneva. They are not big cities, and they are not. So probably they are looking at the same market. So that's the reason why I'm thinking the city level alliance it will be much easier than the country level alliance. Of course, the country level alliance can do more things like policy wise, or some policy, or some, how to say, upper scale collaboration. Yeah.
Great, excellent. A question for you, Leonie, from Karen. Which My City allies elsewhere in the Asia Pacific would benefit New Zealand most? Your thoughts?
Okay, so we've actually been looking for quite some time at those alliances, and for us, it's interesting as a small country with a number of cities, but nothing like the size of several cities across Asia. It would almost be a country to city alliance. So we've looked at cities that have similar academic communities, similar sectors of expertise, and really, I think it's now time that we actually do, take some action on some of that. So for us, we've certainly been looking at cities in Korea, cities in Japan, and I'd love to have more conversations with Thailand.
Okay. I think everybody wants to talk to Thailand.
You're most welcome.
I've got a very interesting question here. What are your thoughts? Because some countries accept 100% vaccination travellers, but with specific brands. So that's a very interesting topic, and it's something that there's not a lot of cooperation. I was actually speaking to somebody from Canada the other day, and they said they couldn't go to the USA because the AstraZeneca vaccine was not accepted. So there's this whole issue about vaccine passports and countries creating these vaccine passports, but we've got to make sure we recognise the different types of vaccinations from different countries. So this is a huge issue. It's going to put another layer on top of getting visas. I'd love to get some comment. Maybe Jason, I'll get your thoughts on that first.
Yeah, I think the vaccine passport is been a topic on the market for a long time, but I do not know will it be easy to apply in the marketplace. Of course, I do hope that someday, even now there are some countries they open the free entry for some destination to get in without any proof of the vaccination. Like as far as I know, like Netherlands, you don't need to prove you get vaccinated, and then you can get into the country. So it really depends on the policy of the destination and the country. So I hope that we can lift this kind of limitation for our business traveler. Yeah.
This is going to be a big issue for MICE. If countries aren't accepting different vaccine passports, it just puts another layer of complication on doing business with each other. So it's certainly something that there needs to be a higher level of cooperation to get through this. Another question here from TTG China is, would love to hear the speaker's opinion on the China market and any potential for cooperative events coming up soon. I'll open that up to everybody to start with. And Jason, are you aware of anything that's coming up?
Yeah,
Where there's
I think China is, they have a very huge domestic incentive and convention market. And probably this pandemic, they keep those, outbound business within China itself. So it's a great opportunity for many destination city in China to host those incentive group, especially for those direct marketing company. They have a huge market for the direct marketing within China. In the past, they probably go to San Francisco, Los Angeles, or even Chicago, but now they all stay in China itself. So I think in the other way around, probably is a great opportunity for those city in China to grab the market within at least to this year and the next year. And yeah, so.
Okay, I just have to close the session down because we've gone a little bit over time, and I believe there's other sessions coming up. I just want to thank our panelists. If you do have any questions that we haven't been able to answer today, to send them through to myself. I think our contact details are on the website, on the TTG ITCM website. Just send your queries through, and we're happy to try and respond to them as soon as we can. Thank you very much. Thank you to my very illustrious panel, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you to the participants for joining us for this session.
Yeah, thank you all.
ขอบคุณค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ
Bye.
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 Bye.